Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 things I think are great on the FX30 and 5 things that are bad. Let's get into it. If you're new to my channel, my name is Malcolm Walker. Glad you're here. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks for stopping back by. So the 5 things I think are great about the FX30, we'll start with number 5, the new menu. The new menu in the camera works very, very well and is easily laid out. While it does take some getting used to coming from the older Mark II generation camera, I find it easier to navigate and easier to find the settings you're looking for. It's just where it belongs in a place rather than just scattered throughout a multi-page menu. And it does make a lot more sense. So the more I use it, the more I'm liking it. Number 4, the screen of the FX30 is actually better than the FX3. It has a 2 million dot display and it is very, very crisp. It's way, way nicer to look at this screen than it is the A7R2, which I'm currently filming on. Now, while the A7R2 does look good, it's only a 900,000 dot resolution, whereas the screen on the FX30 is 2 million. That's one of the highest number of screens Sony's has installed on one of their cameras. Next to maybe the A1 might be higher, but I'm not sure. So definitely the screen resolution is something I like about this camera. Number 3, the tally lights. The tally lights are awesome. It is so nice having that big red square light up in the menu while you're filming on the screen, as well as all the numerous lights everywhere on the body. I can't tell you how many times I've been filming something in the past and realized I thought I hit record and I didn't, or I just forgot to hit record and thought I was recording and I didn't capture anything because I wasn't recording, because the only indicator on the old camera is a small REC record light on the screen itself. This one, it lights up like a Christmas tree when it's recording, and there's no doubt that you're recording. Number 2, flexible exposure mode. What this mode gives you is the ability to just press the ISO button, the aperture button, and you hold the button, it automatically finds the correct exposure in that setting. What's nice is when you're on the fly, trying to run and gun, or you're shooting quick, you can just go and hit that button real quick, or you change room environments real quick, you just press that ISO button, it automatically instantly goes to the correct exposure for that setting. It comes very, very handy. And finally, but not least, for the great things I like about the FX30, number 1 is the price. You can't beat it for $17.99. I mean, this is a full-fledged Sony cinema camera that has features in it that the FX3 doesn't have, such as autofocus breathing compensation. That's a feature I really, really like having this camera. As much as I've used my A7 III and A7R2 with this 24mm lens I'm currently filming on, every time I adjust focus or I move back, you see that screen wobble. Not with this guy. So that's definitely something I like about this camera, but it's also just buried in that price point. I mean, $17.99 for a fantastic, great camera. Hey, before I get into the 5 things I don't like about this camera, go down and hit that like button for me. It takes almost zero effort and it helps this channel out so much. All right, so that's the 5 things I think are great about this camera, but told you there was something bad in here. There's 5 things I'm going to give you that I think are not as good with this camera that could be better. Starting again, number 5 is the screen size. I think for a cinema grade camera, out of the box for a beginner, I'd rather pay a little bit extra for the camera and raise the price up a little bit, but have a bigger screen already attached to it. If the screen size was a little bit bigger to see it just a little bit more clearly, maybe like a 3.5 or 4-inch, just give us that little bit of edge to see some focus points a little bit better. A bigger screen would have been nice. Form factor on the camera, there's room for the bigger screen with a little bit of redesign, but I think that's definitely something in the future I'd like to see Sony improve on, is getting rid of this standard 3-inch screen that they've had forever. Now, they didn't bump the resolution like I said earlier, but it's still a tiny screen, so if it's not right in front of you, it's not big enough. All right, number 4. Now, this one's debatable. It's a video camera. The lack of a mechanical shutter. It doesn't have a mechanical shutter, so when you're shooting photos, it's all the electronic shutter. It works fine, but I would have liked to have seen a mechanical shutter still in it, giving a beginner the option to kind of carry a one and done camera. But I get it, it's a video camera first. It would have been cool if they put a shutter in or maybe, you know, ND filters. Since there wasn't a shutter, there's room, I think, right? Number 3, it's going to be the 4K 120 crop. It's great that I can shoot 4K 120 with this camera. I mean, it's a great thing. But the fact that they crop it on a crop sensor, on a camera where if you're starting out beginning and you have APS-C glass and you're upgrading to full frame, or in my case, I found a downgrade to APS-C and use my full frame glass, I have an 85mm G Master. That was my B-roll lens. Like, I like using that lens for B-roll. It's too noisy to use for anything else, so to use it, you gotta shoot that. Well, shooting on APS-C at 85 becomes a 127.5, and then they add a 1.6 crop on top of that, making it a 204mm lens for an 85. That is a little excessive, I think. I mean, it's cool they gave it the option for the price point, again, but I think, again, that'd be one of the features I would like to have seen just bumped up a little bit. You know, even maybe a little bit less crop, maybe a 1.3, a 1.2, something to make it a little bit more manageable. Or say we take the 24 that I'm shooting on currently, my other prime. A 24 at the 1.5 becomes a 36 on this camera regularly. And then we're going to time it by 1.6 again. Now you're at a 57.6mm lens for your 24. And if you want to get a wide shot in a 120, you just can't do it. So the 4K 120, one of the bad things, just because of the crop. Great that it does it, but the crop. All right, number 2, the battery life. So far, I've definitely seen an increased battery consumption with this camera versus the A7 III. Now it's processing a lot more information. It's working a little bit harder probably. You got a cooling fan in there. I've chosen to use, when I have, record with my microphones on it, and it's using the digital handle, the XLR handle. That's all got to be powered off the camera battery, so that's drawing the power. Screen resolution is going to draw the power. There's a lot of things that's drawing more power from this camera than the standard, like say Mark III A7 III that I had. Some of the other newer cameras that use a Z battery. In the little simple projects I've done on some other stuff, where this camera's been running shoot the entire time, this battery does go dead quicker than I think than the A7 III. Now, officially I haven't done that test yet. I always find myself grabbing that second battery for this camera. With the A7 III, I just never seem to grab the battery. But I get that there's more things being powered by this camera, such as the fan and the XLR handle. I mean, but that's definitely something that I've noticed, and that landed it in the number 2 spot of the things I'm not happy with about this camera. And finally, but not least, the number 1 thing I think is horrible about this camera that drives me crazy all the time. In fact, I just did it preparing for this video. Number 1, there's no power on indicator. Maybe you don't have this problem like I have this problem, but I know there's some of you out there who might have this problem. The thing that drives me crazy, and I found my battery dead in the camera bag because of it. I've constantly gone to pick up the camera thinking I had a full battery, and the battery is almost depleted because I was just using it, but there's no power on indicator that it's on anywhere on it. If you're like me and you have a ZV-1, when you open the screen, it turns the camera on. That's a great feature. If you close the screen, the power turns off. Done. It has an on-off button. I can turn it on, and it'll turn on with the screen closed. I can open the screen and see the screen just fine. There you are. But when you close the screen, it turns off. That is not the case with this camera. Now, I believe, if I remember right, in the menus of the ZV-1, there is an option, power off with monitor. That setting I have not found in here. In fact, just to double check with you here right now, we're going to go to our menu, into our setups. There's monitor brightness, light quality, monitor flip direction. I can flip it, but display option, power setting option, power save start time off, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Auto power off temp, I got that set to high. So on the FX30, you turn the camera on with this little slide. Because of my habit of just closing the monitor on my ZV-1, I think the camera's off. I've tried to break this habit. I've tried doing everything I can, but right now the camera is on, and there's not a thing on here that indicates that the camera is currently on. I would love a firmware or something update that makes a tally light flash, maybe briefly, when the monitor's closed. Something on here that tells me this camera's currently on. But yes, you can look at the switch, but the switch just doesn't indicate. When you're sitting there off to the side, working, you don't realize the thing's on, wasting the battery. It's annoying to me. That's the thing I don't like about the FX30 is there's no power. And look, watch you open it up. Ooh, look, the monitor's still on, and it's been on. Now you could hit record and close the screen, and you can see the tally lights stay on. Well, that's great. Give me something that tells me it's on with it off. Just make one of the tally lights flash, or something, just a little indicator that, hey, I'm sitting over here on. I don't know if these have multicolor in them. I think they only turn on red. A green light would be awesome, something like that. Anyways, that's my little rant about the power switch. I get there's probably reasons why it's just my problem, not anybody else's, but the mechanical switch can't be overridden, unlike the button on the ZV-1 maybe. Something that I found annoying, especially coming from a small camera like the ZV-1 that has that auto power with the monitor flip function. I kind of wish it had something similar to that. Now, I know the slide button on the camera itself is the indicator. See, like right now, if you look at it, it's in the off position here. If I turn it to the on position, the camera turns on. It's on because I heard the IBIS turn on. You feel that little jolt out of the camera, but that's it. Once you pick it up, move it around, there's no indication that it's on. It's just on. So you'd have to actually physically look at the power switch and see that it's on, or come back to your camera, open up the monitor, wonder why it's not turning on. Oh yeah, it's got a slide. Turn it on, doesn't turn on because you've left it in your camera bag and it's gone dead. So overall, there's my 5 things I don't like about this camera and 5 things I do like. It's still a great camera. I'm still really happy with my purchase on it. Those are the 5 things I just found that were kind of annoying with it. Thanks for watching today, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you that watch and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, please go down, hit that subscribe button. A lot of content based around this camera or other Sony stuff and photography in general on this channel. And if you haven't hit that like button already, hit that like button down below. It really helps this channel out. And anyways, I'll see you in the next video. We'll talk to you later.